It's Thursday, August 20th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Does a potential trade deal satisfy the demands of maritime premiers? Canada's Basketball Hall of Fame celebrates the game's best at its historic home.
Fair weather for Friday and Saturday, with rain returning to the Maritimes at the end of the weekend.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. American alcohol could soon be back on store shelves across Canada if a trade deal is signed with the U.S. That's one of the concessions the provinces are offering in exchange for tariff reductions. As CTV's Jesse Thomas reports, Nova Scotia has learned some lessons with these tariff threats.
Nova Scotia is prepared to put American alcohol back on store shelves if a trade deal is reached with the U.S., but it won't happen overnight.
I would think that it would take a month and a half to put that product back on the shelf.
Nova Scotia, like other provinces, pulled American booze from its provincial liquor store shelves last year in retaliation for U.S. tariffs placed on certain goods. The trade rift with the U.S. pushed many consumers to buy local instead. The province's finance minister believes some consumers may never turn back.
And in some cases, they've switched from, buying U.S. product to buying local product, and we expect that it'll take time for them to revert back, or maybe they never will. We expect they'll continue to use local products.
I wouldn't buy it personally, but if we have to do that, and there's lots of people who probably would, but if we have to do that to get this whole thing settled, I'm all for it.
Even if the country reaches a deal and the immediate tariff threat is diminished, Premier Tim Houston says his government won't abandon its efforts to find new trading partners in export markets.
In the big picture, we're moving forward with growing our Nova Scotia economy so that we are more self-sufficient, producing more energy, producing more of the things we need to survive.
Premier Houston said he's willing to make changes to its procurement policies as well. He said the Prime Minister asked provincial leaders to no longer exclude U.S. bids in government tendering.
And Todd, all this said, America is Nova Scotia's largest trading partner by far. In 2024, the province sent $4.6 billion in goods to the U.S. It was roughly the same number last year. It's a back-and-forth relationship. Nova Scotia imports from the U.S. They topped $682 million in 2023. The province says more than 29,000 Nova Scotian jobs depend on exports to the U.S. That's about 1 in every 16 jobs, Todd.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot at stake. Jesse Thomas starting us off tonight from the newsroom. Thank you very much. New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt and Island Premier Rob Lance both chose not to make themselves available to comment today until details of the trade deal are made public. In New Brunswick, concern is focused on lumber tariffs. CTV's Anna Mandan spoke with representatives about what they're watching for.
It's been a lot of ups and downs in the U.S.-Canada trade saga, and this week is just the latest rendition. CTV reached out to Premier Susan Holt's office for her reaction, but she did not provide an interview by deadline. One government spokesperson, Opportunities New Brunswick Minister Luke Randall, did say he's confident in Canada's negotiation team.
Our Premier has been in constant contact with the federal government, and so that partnership is strong.
He says the province is willing to work with its federal counterparts. But if that means putting American booze back on New Brunswick shelves, it depends on the details.
We'll be looking to see what the ask looks like, and we'll be looking forward to working with our federal partners to get to a successful resolution.
Meanwhile, the president of the province's Federation of Woodlot Owners says the sector is feeling the impact from tariffs.
When the mills are hit with these extra expenses, they often pass that expense or a portion of that expense onto the wood producer in the form of lower prices, and the margins for making money cutting wood and trucking wood in New Brunswick are already very slim.
But the CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce is looking forward to a potential deal with the U.S.
But some short-term stability is certainly welcome. At the same time, I think we've learned a lesson that we also have to keep at getting our own economic house in order.
He says that includes diversifying markets and reducing interprovincial trade barriers. And regardless of a deal, he says businesses will have to adapt to a new trade reality.
I don't think things will ever get back to normal, but or what they were before. But that's going to be part of any long-term thing, is kind of normalizing trade relations.
Locally, uncertainty remains a strong sentiment in what's been a series of last-minute changes in the unpredictable trade negotiations. Anna Mandan, CTV News, Fredericton.
Now, not long before airtime, we got a short statement from Premier Holt. It reads, in part, "We are expecting to see tariff reductions, and once the details have been finalized and shared, we will weigh in on the deal for New Brunswick." We're sticking with our web poll question from last night because, well, nothing has really changed. So the question is, are you confident Canada will get a fair deal out of all this? A simple yes or no. You can vote at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Halifax police are investigating after a body of a man was discovered at a recycling plant. Officers were called to the facility on Chang Lake Drive yesterday afternoon. Police have confirmed a 50-year-old man's body was found in a commercial container that was picked up either in Bears Lake or somewhere else in the city. Investigators don't believe the man's death was suspicious. Hundreds of people in New Waterford told police and local lawmakers last night how disruptive and dangerous crime and drug use have become in their community. And as CTV's Ryan McDonald reports, the mayor agreed and promises action.
We are in a time of crisis here in our town.
Nearly 600 people filled the rink in New Waterford last night, fed up with drugs and crime in their community. Some said there is not enough police presence.
You know the drug house, you know they're dealing, and nothing gets done.
Others spoke about a lack of resources for things like addictions and mental health.
I want money spent on facilities here. Accessible facilities. I agree with you. So this doesn't happen to any other ones. I agree with you. Thank you.
We're doing everything we can within our municipal resources to address that. It's clear we need our provincial and federal partners to be with us.
CBRM Mayor Cecil Clark told the crowd that New Waterford has the highest needle use per capita of any community in the country. He is asking for help with things like additional resources for policing and a new homeless shelter, and said if the municipality doesn't get it, he is willing to take bus loads of residents to the Nova Scotia legislature.
If they feel that the province isn't hearing them, then maybe we have to go to the province.
Knowing what I know here tonight, I most likely will have a shift in priorities.
The CBRM's new interim police chief said that in the short term, people can expect more plainclothes officers in town to try and crack down on public drug activity that has people feeling unsafe.
I felt it was a valuable meeting, and I think it's something that you're going to see positive change in the months ahead.
Organizers said there will be another public meeting like this one by December to find out whether anything has changed and evaluate any solutions put in place. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, New Waterford.
It is a busy evening at Officers Square in downtown Fredericton. The night market is underway. You can see lots of people enjoying what seem to be fairly clear skies, 26 degrees, as we bring in CTV meteorologist Kayla Mitchell for a first look at the forecast and folks taking advantage of that tonight.
So I'm cautiously optimistic that people will be able to head out there and enjoy the night market without it being interrupted by, a lengthy shower. But there are a couple pop-up showers in the province of New Brunswick. One to the north of Fredericton right now, approaching areas like Boys Town. They are mostly lighter, though, and they move through fairly quickly. They're just kind of popping up a little bit as we have this very weak cold front that's working its way across that province right now. That front is bringing down humidity levels. It hasn't reached Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia yet, though, and that's why those two provinces dealt with the lion's share of the muggy conditions for today. Temperatures right now around the Maritimes, most areas are still sitting up between 24 and 27 degrees. You can see the effect, though, that it's already having on temperatures, the passage of that cold front, that is, up around the north and northwest of New Brunswick. Edmonton right now, cooler, sitting at around 18. relative to other parts of the Maritimes, that is. And humidex values as well begin to fall a little bit around northern and northwestern areas of New Brunswick, but still on the higher side. Southern areas of that province, Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia, where the sticky conditions continue to make it feel into the high 20s and low 30s. Another way we can track the progress of that front and the relief from the humidity is by looking at the dew point temperatures. Much more comfortable dew points now across a good portion of New Brunswick, low to mid-teens, whereas they're still higher for Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, high teens, low 20s. Again, those will be coming down for those two provinces as that front moves through, which will happen as we continue through this evening and tonight. And relief from humidity in the Maritimes extends through Friday into the start of the weekend on Saturday, but then the humidity rises again on Sunday with our next round of rain and showers. Winds right now mostly still to the southwest for Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, becoming northwest for the province of New Brunswick. As we take a look at things on radar and satellite, there's that scattering of a few showers developing in the province of New Brunswick, and that band of a few showers that developed around the interior area of Nova Scotia, drifting up towards Pictou County. No lightning with it, though. I will have more in the forecast, Todd, including the weekend, when I'm back a little bit later on.
This humidity is why these maritime beaches are so popular.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
Cool off in a hurry. Thank you, Callan. We'll see you later in the show. It's not what Halifax commuters want to hear, but the city is warning motorists to get ready for 2 years of detours. That's how long a large portion of Bears Road, a busy corridor, will be closed for construction. CTV's Callum Smith has the details.
This is lunch hour, so you can imagine what it's like during the busiest driving times.
When it's a rush hour that the whole place is just filled up with cars and the traffic drives you crazy, right?
It's jammed especially during 4 o'clock this time of the day.
The inbound lane of Bears Road will remain closed. While the city's detour sticks to busier streets, some people living on side roads are also feeling the impact.
I feel like it's a lot slower because I do have to get to work. The buses have been delayed a lot.
The outbound lane, leaving the peninsula, is still open, but down to 1 lane throughout, leading to its own backup. Dedicated bus lanes running in both directions are coming in the shorter term to support bus rapid transit in the long run.
Being on both sides of the lane is a good innovation, to be honest. And I think members of the community will be so much appreciative of that.
Halifax water work will go hand in hand, and while it's expected to reopen during the winter, the 2-year timeline is catching some off guard.
Whoa, I never knew it was actually 2 years. But man, this is a very significant time frame.
Businesses, both big and small, remain open, but they're certainly hearing about it.
Consumers are telling us the difficulty to come up here, little frustrated with all the traffic to come down to the restaurant.
She too has high hopes for the end result.
Every citizen will be benefit for that, but during these 2 years, the time is not good for us.
But she's thankful for the loyal customers who are fighting the traffic to support the business and get a bite to eat. Callum Smith, CTV News, Halifax.
If you drive around Halifax, you may want to take a look at that map again. We have it in our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A long-time landmark in the Halifax area is going under the wrecking ball, but no one is sorry to see it go. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness tells us why and what's next for the area.
Standing for over 60 years, the fuel tanks on the former Texaco refinery site are being removed.
I'd say it's about time they got them out of there. They're not doing anything. They're just taking up space.
A release from the Department of Defense says the 475-acre property was bought to provide warehousing and refueling support to the Royal Canadian Navy fleet, including the newly purchased German-made TKMS submarines, an announcement Prime Minister Mark Carney made in early July.
I think it's reasonable to expect that there will be very substantial activity here in Halifax for decades. This process will have far and away the greatest economic impact of any defense investment right across Canada.
The site also provides deep water access, ideal for both ship and sub-docking.
It's definitely going to increase everything, but I mean, at the same time, the military does need some of the things that they are putting in.
In addition to the 4 tanks, piping support structures and a closed asbestos disposal cell will be removed from the site. Dump trucks could also be seen coming and going from the area across the street from the tanks, also part of D&D's land purchase.
Probably a good thing.
City Hall isn't talking about the project, but everyone who drives by this longtime landmark is buzzing about its future. And Todd, the removal of the tanks you see here behind me is the responsibility of the previous owners. Now, there are representatives from the Department of National Defense here overseeing this work that is expected to wrap up sometime in late October. Todd.
Yeah, they'll be doing that for a while. Thanks, John, in Eastern Passage tonight. It's an idea we heard a lot of during the pandemic when many were rethinking their work-life balance. And while a 4-day work week is not the norm, certainly several cities and towns around here have adopted the idea on a temporary basis anyway. Tonight, CTV's Nick Moore reports on where things stand.
The idea of a 4-day work week was taken up by a handful of municipalities around here in 2022, including Quispamsis, New Brunswick.
You can work the 4-day week if you like, or you can work a more standard 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Town spokesman Tim Roselle says most employees who could gave the 4-day deal a try, working longer hours either Monday to Thursday or Tuesday to Friday.
It's become a recruitment tool for the town for sure. We have had some positions open lately, and the 4-day work week has certainly come into play there for sure.
Quispamsis Town Hall is still open to the public Monday to Friday.
We have actually been able to expand our public-facing hours by 1 hour each day.
The City of St. John also began testing a 4-day work week in 2022. St. John Chief Administrative Officer Ian Fogan.
And some of the feedback we got was, well, it worked for some places, didn't work for others.
Initially, the city's customer care center was only open Monday to Thursday, albeit with longer hours.
Also, from a customer service standpoint, there were questions about could they reach staff, who was able to be here.
City staff did some tinkering with the schedule, and the customer care center is once again open Monday to Friday with the 4-day work week policy still intact.
Our flexible work program has been a good incentive to retain, but also to attract employees, which for a while we had large difficulty trying to attract the right kind of talent.
We've moved from this concept of could a 4-day week even work to more of a conversation around how could it work in my business or my organization.
Debbie Bailey is co-CEO of 4-Day Week Global, which advocates for a 4-day work week all around the world.
Traditionally, local governments struggle with attraction and retention of staff. It's very hard to compete with the private sector when you're looking for planners and engineers and those types of roles. So this is one way that we can level up the playing field a bit.
The city of Miramichi made its own 4-day work week initiative permanent in 2024. The town of Riverview runs a seasonal 4-day work week, usually from May to October. Some Tantramar employees operate under a compressed work week with 1 Friday off per pay period. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There's a welcome distraction to Canada-U.S. relations in the border town of St. Stephen. Basketball is all the talk right now as Canada's Hall of Fame takes over the town. And our Avery McRae is there.
Basketball has a rich history in St. Stephen. People here claim they have the world's oldest basketball court in the heart of town.
It's very cool that we get to be very close to it, and soon we'll be able to see it in the museum. And it's in Canada. That's another great thing.
The first recorded game played on this court was back in 1893 when Nova Scotian Lyman Archibald brought the sport to the area. Now an event in his honor, named the Archie, shoots to preserve that legacy.
This is the 5th year of the Archie, and I'm an optimist, but I don't think I could envision how successful this has been and how well it's grown over the years.
The now 3-day event began today with a downtown basketball block party, various shows and live performances, and tours of the world's oldest basketball court.
It's really cool here because all the history here, and it's crazy how they used to play basketball with that and old basketball, like leather.
The festivities all led to tonight's Canadian Basketball Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It marks the first time the biannual event has been held on the East Coast. Among the record 10 inductees is 3-time Olympian Miranda I.M.
I think it's the highest point of my career for sure, having Canada across my chest, and now that I get to celebrate it with those who made it possible.
Joining her is Michael Meeks, who led the Canadian men's team in scoring at the Sydney Olympic Games Games in 2000.
Whenever the country calls, you say yes, you know, so an event like this where I get to get recognized, it doesn't get much better than that, to be honest.
The event is all in support of this court that officials are trying to transform into Canada's first Basketball Hall of Fame and museum. Todd, there are still 2 full days of activities for folks to look forward to as part of the festivities. Tomorrow is the celebrity golf tournament at the Algonquin Golf Course in St. Andrews, which is followed by a dinner. Then on Saturday, back to hoops with a full slate of basketball clinics and tournaments at St. Stephen High School. Todd?
That's our own power forward, Avery McRae, in St. Stephen tonight. Okay, time for a break. Still to come. We'll look ahead at the weather for the weekend, but next, there's plenty of pressure on the states to get a trade deal, too.
What we're going to do, we're going to have to grow our way out of this.
The American economy is underperforming, and people are fed up with prices in the states. Go figure. We'll have the details next.
This is the Campfire Conditions Report, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. For most of New Brunswick, you are allowed to have a campfire. Now, there are some restricted hours for a few counties, Sunbury and Queens counties, where you're only allowed to have a campfire between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And we find some restricted hours as well in the province of Nova Scotia. In fact, many counties, you're only allowed to have a campfire right now between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. There are a few exceptions. Yarmouth, Shelburne counties, Antigonish, Guysborough County, Richmond, and Cape Breton counties. There, you're allowed to have a campfire between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. And for Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently allowed, with domestic brush burning allowed between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. The next update to those provincial restrictions will be at 2 p.m. on August 21st.
Conventional thinking is it's Canada that desperately needs a trade agreement, but it's becoming increasingly apparent that the White House needs a deal badly. With midterm elections this fall and a sputtering economy, Americans are growing frustrated with high prices and higher debt. NBC's Ryan Nobles reports from Washington.
The U.S. economy hit an ominous milestone, the deficit climbing higher than $40 trillion. But the Trump administration says it's not time to panic.
What we're going to do, we're going to have to grow our way out of this. And as I talked about at G20 in Asheville, we are going to talk about the U.S. growth strategy and encourage the rest of the world to come along with us.
The stock market showing its displeasure, starting and ending the day in the red. The administration says it's working to bring down the debt, but that it could take time. So how does this record deficit impact consumers?
The reason that everyday Americans should care about the U.S. debt is that it impacts long-term borrowing costs, interest rates, and you're seeing a surge in longer-term interest rates right now.
The country's debt has doubled in less than a decade, from less than $20 trillion in Trump's first term to now. Much of the debt explosion is due to government spending during the pandemic, including during former President Joe Biden's administration. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Trump inherited an economic quagmire.
We did not get here in a day, that we were left with a mess. The Biden administration had the highest deficit to GDP in history when we weren't at war or weren't in a recession.
In addition to pandemic costs, the Biden administration did spend on infrastructure projects and clean energy subsidies. While President Trump is focused on cost-cutting this term, slashing federal jobs and agencies, his signature One Big Beautiful Bill Act with its tax cuts will add almost $5 trillion to the debt, that according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. And the war with Iran, now nearly 6 months old, is adding to economic pressure. Oil prices are leading to higher gas prices. Drivers now paying $4.10 per gallon on average. The government is now spending more than $1 trillion every fiscal year just to pay the interest on the country's debt. That's 15% of all spending, the second largest line item for the federal budget, right after Social Security. Ryan Nobles, NBC News, Washington.
Still to come in your newscast tonight, a look at what we can expect weather-wise this weekend. Kayla Mitchell has the full maritime forecast. We'll cast a line after this. say hello to visitors on the MS Zyder Dam, which is in the foreground there, Pier 21, and bon voyage to passengers leaving Halifax aboard the Independence of the Seas. That's a Royal Caribbean vessel. A very busy day on the boardwalk of Halifax, and they picked a pretty good one to be here.
The departing passengers might run into a little bit of a fog bank there as they're heading outside the Halifax harbor. We have had some fog that's been lingering just off the coastline. Maybe heading out before our next round of more inclement weather, which is lined up for Sunday on the weekend. Got some rain to talk about.
The Zyder Dam here till 11 o'clock. So
okay.
Yeah, enjoy the nice evening in Halifax.
Big picture time across the continent. Let's take a look at what's going on. So out in the west right now, things are being dominated by this large heat dome around the western United States. Now, the northern edge of that heat dome is actually brushing up into southern parts of BC and southern parts of the prairies, which, of course, is not what they want right now, especially in the interior of BC, as they're contending with that wildfire situation. It's keeping temperatures too high. It's keeping air conditions too dry for them. In the meantime, off in the east, we're waiting for the arrival of this less humid air that's been working its way in a trough of low pressure through parts of Ontario and Quebec. So checking in on temperatures right now, you can see that Vancouver, Victoria, south coast of BC, not too hot, sitting around 23, 24 degrees, but there's higher temperatures than that in the interior. And then as you get into southern parts of the prairies, you can see some of the warmth from the northern part of that ridge, with Regina right now sitting at 27. Off in the east, already a cooling effect from that trough through parts of northern Ontario. Thunder Bay 15 degrees, reporting some rain, and Sudbury's down to 20. Even temperatures have lowered a little bit through southern Ontario and southern Quebec. And we're waiting for the arrival of some of that less humid air in the Maritimes, which is going to arrive as we make our way through tonight and we get in behind this very weak cold front. Now, this cold front's not producing a lot of weather. It's just producing a couple very spotty showers moving through tonight, but there will be a fall in humidity in behind it and generally fair weather conditions that'll extend at least into the start of the upcoming weekend. Taking a look at our timeline then for cloud cover and precipitation. So a few showers, but also still the potential for some fog tonight for some coastal areas, especially around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick and the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. At the approach of these fronts, that fog that's sort of lurking over the ocean waters sometimes gets pulled a little bit closer towards the shore. Now, as we head into the start of the day for tomorrow, any fog that is around will be dissipating. There's a very low chance of some morning showers in the east of Nova Scotia, but that wraps up, and then moving into the afternoon, it's going to be sunny for New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, and a fair weather mix of sun and cloud for Nova Scotia. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight, still on the milder side for Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, mostly around the mid to high teens, but the effect of that front moving through New Brunswick is bringing temperatures tonight, while during the overnight hours, down to a more comfortable level, high teens, high single digits, low teens in the northern half of the province, right around the mid-teens, close to the Bay of Fundy coastline. In the forecast for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick, most of the high temperatures between 23 and 26. Not a lot of humidity in the air. It'll be warm for Fredericton tomorrow, near 27, near 26 for St. John, and 25 degrees for Moncton. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures. We'll see in the low 20s, so a little bit of refresher as that cold front will have gone through. Winds will be light and out of the northwest. For the east of Nova Scotia, most of the high temperatures will still be around the mid-20s, but humidity coming down to a more comfortable level. Northern and central parts of the province, quite warm for tomorrow. 25 for Amherst, 27 for Truro, 26 for Halifax. If you're in the Annapolis Valley, still warm on Friday, even though the humidity will be down a little bit, near 27 for most communities, 24 at Digby. On the south shore of Nova Scotia, mid-20s expected. Weekend ahead. So as I mentioned, Saturday it's looking like a very fair weather day, but best plan for some rain on Sunday, as that's when the next weather front will be making its way into the region. So the 7-day forecast for New Brunswick, pretty smooth sailing here through Friday and Saturday, but then periods of rain, drizzle, and fog for Sunday. Some of that system may linger as some showers into Monday morning before it clears away, and then looking very fair weather Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. For Nova Scotia as well, coming up on Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud, low chance of showers in the southwest of the province. Some help for the lawns and gardens in the form of some rain on Sunday. It doesn't look like it'll linger as some showers or patchy drizzle into Monday before fair weather returns Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island, coming up over the next couple of days, well, Friday sunny, and then Saturday start of the weekend, a mix of sun and cloud. Then there's that rain in the forecast for Sunday. They linger as a few showers into the start of next week. And then a mix of sun and cloud and some pretty pleasant conditions expected Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Todd.
If you give that board a hip check, just slide the rain over to Monday.
Just nudge it over a little bit.
Get.
Yeah. I wish it worked that way.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. We'll see you at the end of the show. Sean Graham, former Premier of New Brunswick, joins us next for his assessment of what's going on with all these trade talks.
Alex, something we forgot to acknowledge tomorrow. It is National Radio Day.
Yes.
Good job to us.
Celebrate, turn the radio on. Also at 7:30 tomorrow, we're giving away a $100 gas card. Good luck.
Welcome back. We're still awaiting details as trade talks continue on that proposed Canada-U.S. trade deal. A few premiers have chosen not to respond today, including the premiers of New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. But this evening, we are joined by a former premier of New Brunswick, Sean Graham. You're on the river.
I'm on the banks of the Rishabakto River here in Kent County. It's great to be home tonight, Todd.
Beautiful. Good to have you, because I think you're in a perfect position to offer some inside expertise on what might be going on. We're talking about a potential agreement, and I realize we don't have the details yet, and we don't want to get into speculation, but there have been some hints. A few things have been dropped. Based on what you've heard, do you think there's a deal there?
Well, yes. I think President Trump's in a position that he needs to have a deal going into the midterms. He likes to portray himself as a deal maker. So I think the Prime Minister has done a very good job to date in protecting Canadians' interests. Now, the devil will be in the details, but ultimately, you know, each province is going to be looking to make sure that their sector deal. Here in New Brunswick, lumber has been a major irritant. So it'll be interesting to see what the final deal looks like and how the provinces react.
Okay, we just had a break in the feed there, so I may re-ask you something here, but there's been rumors of reductions on steel and aluminum tariffs. Nothing regarding softwood lumber, which is so important for New Brunswick. Does that concern you?
Well, the softwood lumber tariffs have been in existence for a very long period of time, and it's been a major source of contention for our softwood lumber industry here in New Brunswick, and it is a major employer. New Brunswick has had to adapt, whereas Nova Scotia, as you know, was able to strike a side deal on the tariffs a number of years ago, and it's not impacted as drastically as it is here in this region. So yes, that will be an area that, you know, the government has been lobbying for to see if it can be included in the trade deal. But you have to remember, the U.S. lobby on their sawmill industry is so strong. We're not going to see the tariffs totally eliminated, and I don't think that expectation is there either.
Premier Holt has said that has to happen before she's willing to put American liquor back on store shelves, but do you think that's going to happen? Do you think we're going to see liquor across the country from the U.S.?
Yeah, that's one of the few cards that the Canadian premiers do have, is that, you know, the Trump administration has said that they want to see the U.S. liquor back on the shelves of Canadian stores. The real markets, though, are in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia. Alberta and Saskatchewan have continued to sell U.S. products. They've never taken it off the shelves. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact if New Brunswick resists on putting the products back on the shelves. You have to remember, most Canadians now have adapted and are drinking Canadian-made products or European-based products versus U.S. products. And it's going to be hard to change the attitude to switch back to those products once they're placed back on the shelves. So it will be a small victory probably for the U.S. administration if they're back on. But you know, we're going to see, I think, a trade deal that is able to allow this economy here to move forward. And you will probably see consensus amongst the premiers at the end of the day.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, and Premier Houston said the same thing, that you can put the items back on shelves, but it sounds like the Americans are going to have a bit of a sales job to do to get consumers to start buying it again anyway. We hear about Team Canada, everybody speaking with the same voice. But when it comes down to it, don't the premiers have to prioritize their own jurisdictions? There's so many interests, varying interests across the country. Is it hard to get a universal agreement on a deal?
It is, because, you know, if the 50% tariffs go on, which they're still scheduled to unless a deal is reached, that would have a devastating impact on both economies. Now, President Trump likes to portray himself as a deal maker, and I think that's the advantage that Canada has, that's why they've put this deadline in place, because they're going into the midterm elections and the U.S. government wants to show that they have a win. and we're going to portray it as a win here in Canada, that it's a win for each jurisdiction. But to have stability, that's what the markets want right now. And, for companies to invest over the long term, they want to know that, Canada still is a viable partner to sell into the U.S. and that those trade corridors will continue to exist. Over $2 billion of goods cross the U.S. border and the Canada border every single day. And a 50% tariff would have a devastating impact on the economy in the short term for President Trump. Yeah. So, I'm fairly confident we're going to see something that will appease, probably not 100% please everyone, but appease the Canadian premiers to be able to sign off. But ultimately, it's not them that signs off. It is the government of Canada.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I keep dwelling on forestry, but it's such a big deal in New Brunswick. Let's say that's not included, and the premiers of BC and New Brunswick and perhaps Quebec are upset about it. Do you think you would see the Prime Minister perhaps making some concessions to those provinces to help out those sectors, just to be able to sign something with the U.S.?
Well, here in New Brunswick, the provincial government has taken the proactive step of lowering royalty rates on its crown timber to help the industry adjust right now. So we are seeing steps that the provincial government is taking, and yes, there are tools that the federal government can take. Now, they've announced that they're going to allow lumber to be shipped with lower rates on CN rail. But you have to remember that doesn't play well here in New Brunswick because most of our lumber it's all sent by truck, very little by rail. Yeah. So the government of Canada will have to look at certain tools to put into place, but we're not expecting, I don't think, the tariffs to be reduced overnight, but we're hoping that the 50% tariff won't be introduced.
Yeah, that's certainly the big one. Sean Graham, we appreciate you being here with us and offering your expertise into this matter. We can't talk about this enough. It is such a big part of the economy and of our lives right now. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here tonight.
We will take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay with us. In health headlines tonight, Congo will receive 70,000 doses of a vaccine which has been effective in past Ebola outbreaks. Details now in the Thursday edition of The Lifeline with CTV's Amanda Debison.
The Ebola outbreak in Congo has infected and killed more people at a greater speed than any other outbreak in history. Congo's Ministry of Health has now recorded more than 5,000 cases, including more than 2,300 deaths across 6 provinces. This gives it a case fatality rate of more than 47%. It's now spread about 3 times faster than the 2014-2016 outbreak across West Africa, the deadliest on record with more than 11,000 deaths.
WHO has already added 100 additional expert epidemiologists who will be deployed at the field level, at the health zone levels, supported by almost more than 500 community health workers who will go to the communities, do the contact tracing, and identify the cases, convince the people to accept to be followed up.
That's the regional incident manager for the WHO, who said 400 treatment beds have been added across the country in just the past 2 weeks. The strain of the virus doesn't have an improved vaccine or treatment. Researchers in the U.S. are warning of a possible link between sugary drinks and gastric cancer. Researchers in Boston found those who drank 1 sugary drink per day had a nearly 2.5 times higher risk of cancer than those who had less than 1 sugary drink per month. Authors of the study also found that higher fructose intake was also linked with higher gastric cancer risk. Finally, a potential step forward in the treatment of melanoma, a sometimes deadly form of skin cancer. Pharmaceutical companies Moderna and Merck say their personalized mRNA vaccine, combined with the immunotherapy drug Keytruda, were successful in late-stage trials. The drug makers say the combination reduced cancer recurrence and kept cells from spreading. The experimental drug is made to order based on each patient's tumor. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
Peter. We want to talk game shows tomorrow. What is a game show you're absolutely convinced that you could win?
And Aaron, you better plan on cramming for an all-nighter so you'll be ready for it. We'll talk about it tomorrow at 7.
Taking a look at the markets, the Dow Jones closed the trading day down just over 700 points. Walmart shares tumbled today after the retailer reported slow sales. Morella has the details.
The stock ended the day down over 9%. Sales were actually up 2.6% for Walmart's latest quarter, but that's far from the 4% sales the giant retailer reported at the start of the year. Walmart's profit was boosted by a tariff refund of $2.9 billion U.S. it got from Washington. That money is being used to help keep prices low. Tariff refunds have also helped Deere, the world's largest manufacturer of farm equipment. It reported quarterly revenue of $11 billion. The company's construction and forestry sales were up 18% year over year, boosted by the AI data center build. Bloomberg reporting today that AI company Anthropic expects to match or beat the initial public offering of SpaceX. Anthropic owns Claude, an AI assistant that rivals ChatGPT. SpaceX, Elon Musk's rocket and satellite company, raised $75 billion U.S. when it went public in June. Anthropic's mega IPO could happen as soon as the end of August. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.50 U.S. West Texas Intermediate up to 87.83 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select up to 65.83. And the TSX lost 36 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Kalen's outside. The jacket is off.
I ditched the jacket for this evening, but you know what? The temperatures out here this evening, not quite as warm as they were last evening. And the reason for that is that approaching cold front is currently making its way through New Brunswick. That front is located within a trough of low pressure, and that kind of increases the pull a little bit of air off the Atlantic Ocean towards Atlantic coastal areas of Nova Scotia. So I'm feeling that effect a little bit here in the north end of Halifax this evening. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. And this is a beautiful morning shot coming in from Miramichi. This was sent in by Edna Trevors. Birds taking flight there in the morning. It was a pretty nice day for Miramichi. They still have a very low chance of a shower this evening as that front moves through. And tomorrow looks like it's going to be a pretty banner day for the Miramichi area as well. Sunny, high temperature in the afternoon. It'll be up to around the mid-20s. And again, humidity in the Maritimes should be down for all 3 provinces. Let's take a look at our day planner for tomorrow. So that front will already be past New Brunswick and clearing Prince Edward Island, northern areas of Nova Scotia early in the morning. Other parts of Nova Scotia will start off the day with some cloudy conditions, some fog patches, and there will be a low chance of showers around the east of the province, including Cape Breton. Now that front continues to move out over the Atlantic as we move from the morning into the afternoon. Fog will dissipate. It'll be a fair weather mix of sun and cloud for Nova Scotia Friday afternoon, and mostly sunny for Prince Edward Island and for New Brunswick. A lot of the high temperatures tomorrow will be around the mid-20s for the region, low to mid-20s on parts of the coast, and just a little bit of a breezy wind expected out of the northwest. And that's that northwest wind that's going to be helping to bring humidity down across the region. All right, let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Friday on Your Morning Atlantic, a better night's sleep. We'll speak with an ND sleep expert about resetting your children's routine for school. Start your morning with us Friday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally for us tonight, jellyfish are a common, unwelcome sight on maritime beaches, of course. But in Florida, did you know they have a whole museum dedicated to them? The private Jellyfish Museum is located in Pompano Beach. It's believed to be the first museum in the United States and the only one in the world dedicated solely to the translucent invertebrates. Jellyfish have survived over 500 million years. That makes them older than dinosaurs, even trees. They have no heart, no brain. They're made up primarily of water. That gives them that otherworldly look. If you happen to be in Pompano Beach, why not, right? That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here with your late update at 11:30. The web and the app have updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you right back here for the Friday edition of your local news. Till then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.